The approach here that we take is showing a sense of accomplishment, not a sense of loss. So it's not basically what you missed, it's what you demonstrated as your key strength. And that's why the feedback that's given is mainly to build on these strengths and develop a better understanding of what you can do further. The higher you go in your English language proficiency, and the older you are as a learner, the more challenging and the more suitably designed content is given your way through the second set, A2 key, and then B1 and B2 first for schools, and obviously all of them have one thing in common, which obviously measuring for skills, focusing on real-world communication, and the certificates here enjoy a really high level of recognition, which I will talk about in a minute as well. But what we also added to this particular suite of qualifications is a big set of study resources, preparation materials, content suitable for teachers, and you'll be surprised of how diverse these resources are in a minute when we talk about the resources. All these exams cover the 4 skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And the speaking part is meant to provide more kind of hands-on and more real life like kind of say conversations and interactions. There are 2 examiners for these exams, and obviously candidates are assessed individually, although they basically do the assessments in pairs. Now, there are also key skills that basically we are keen on developing. So, for example, with the little bit higher levels for B1, for example, for schools, we do what we call extended turns, which is speaking individually. Whereas for the B2 first for schools, a little bit higher level, we do discussions, speaking together kind of assessment. So really the idea is to create a more diverse, more comprehensive, and as such more reliable outcome in terms of measuring all key skills. And I think, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, the key element here is the recognition of these qualifications. 25,000 universities, institutions, governments worldwide recognize these qualifications, and it's growing as well. There are grades here. So you receive a grade, and at the same time you receive a CFR level and Cambridge English scale score, and we do that by scale. In addition, there's a group report, a group result for each school that we basically prepare for each exam, which shows the changes per age group and for distribution of grades in your school. Excuse me. One of the key questions really in everybody's minds is, what do we offer really? I mean, the qualifications are great. They are very well designed. And by the way, probably you know that some of these qualifications are more than 120 years old. And the first exam paper we published was around 6 hours in length, and it was delivered over 2 days. So it's a big shift of how things started, but at the same time, it's a massive legacy that we're trying to preserve. But in addition to that, I think one of the key things that we want to promote is provide our teachers with the right support and the right materials for preparing for these exams. So that's basically why I thought of breaking the preparation patterns into 4 categories. Because for each one of these categories, we kind of tend to provide a set of resources. I attached here 2 links. Obviously, we will send the recordings, and I'll send the presentation afterwards as well, so you will basically be able to follow these links as well on your own time. But we broke them by support to schools, support to teachers, support to learners, and support to parents. I will start with each one of them separately. So support to teachers is mainly designing or giving support to schools on how they can plan and get support throughout the year. from the start of the year, preparing for your teaching, exam registration, final preparations, exam results, and then celebrating success. That's the kind of the journey that we always hope to see in these schools. For teachers, and I think a lot of people listening to me today are teachers, and probably this is probably one of the most relevant parts. For each one of the exams, we prepared a handbook. And the handbook is available in the website, obviously, for everybody to have a look at. We have things like word lists, which include the keywords used in these exams. We've got sample exams, sample papers for people to practice. We've got also mock test toolkits available. We've got videos, and obviously videos are very useful for speaking practice. We've got also templates for lesson plans and schemes of work. So very, very rich content. What we, this screenshot is basically from our website. The reason why I had this screenshot is really because I wanted to show you how easy it is if you go to resources for teachers page on our cambridgeenglish.org website. There is a search engine for all these documents, and you can basically select it based on the level and the resources and what kind of skill you want materials for. And I would invite everybody really to have a look because they are so diverse and so rich. So that's in terms of the teacher support. I mentioned that basically there would be webinars dedicated to Pakistan that we are basically, and this is the first one of them. However, there are many global webinars that we run from Cambridge centrally, globally, that talk about various elements and obviously I'll work with our centers in Pakistan for them to share these calendars for you to get the best of these updates and these professional development webinars. All of them are available live, free of charge, of course, and obviously they're all recorded, so you can catch them on YouTube as well. But obviously there will be further support that we will share with our partners for them to pass to teachers that need this kind of support. From a learner's perspective, we also have sets of resources. We've got information booklets, and it's mainly an individual guide that we prepared for students to understand better about our assessments. We prepared self-access lesson plans, so teachers, learners can also develop their own skills in their own time. And there are plenty of resources, games and applications for online learning as well. Social media is becoming a trend these days. It's quite interesting to see that a lot of people learn from social media as well. So that's why we kind of changed the content or modified our content for our social media platforms to promote learning as well in that sense. And we do have a series of English language learning videos that are published on our websites as well. And again, the links for these resources are available on the screen. We do have a big range of course books and resources to support our learning, to support our exams, our qualifications. And these start with the young learners, from pre-A1 and A1, A2, all the way to the C1 and C2. So whatever the level of delivery, whatever the level of learning, whatever English proficiency your students have, there are suitable official Cambridge materials available. And obviously our partners would be, our authorized centers would be able to advise on the availability of these resources. And obviously, just for the sake of time, I really kind of chose to share with you some of these unique resources that probably not many teachers are so familiar with. I chose one in particular called Write and Improve. You see the website at the bottom of the screen, writeandimprove.com. This is so powerful because it's a typical model of what we are trying to promote, which is a learning tool that includes assessment practice at the same time that integrates technology fully. So if you notice with me here, if you have a browse at this range, you would see sorry, at this link, you would see that a lot of resources here are, well, technically all the content is auto-marked. So students can practice writing on their own time.